Um, after the January 6th Klan riot, and it says can we stop fucking pretending that the Republicans are the law and order party, because they're not. Now, going back to Watergate, the Republicans who claim to be for law and order often turn out to be fucking criminals who think that they're above the fucking law. Now, much is still unknown about what the House Select Committee on the January 6th Klan insurrection will roll out Thursday night in the first of a series of summer hearings. Apparently, the no-spoiler culture that dominates Hollywood has made the leap to Capitol Hill. Now, the basic conclusion of the committee's findings is coming into focus. What happened during that first week of 2021 was the product of a widespread criminal conspiracy that appears to have tendrils throughout the Republican Party and among thousands of Trump sycophants. Basically, Representative Adam Schiff basically said that they'll demonstrate the multi-pronged effort to overturn. He says basically we'll demonstrate the multi-pronged effort to overturn a presidential election, and how one strategy to subvert the election led to another, culminating in a violent attack on our democracy. Adam Schiff told this. Basically, he's California. He's from California. He's one of the Democrats on the committee, and this is what he had told New York Times. Now, while the new evidence introduced in these hearings, or its compressed and dramatic representation, will hopefully serve as a shock to the national system, reminding the public of the dangers of Donald Trump's anti-democratic machinations, and none of this will be exactly surprising. Trump has never taken great pains to hide his criminal intent. He seems annoyed that his lawyers won't let him brag more loudly about what he's done and what he did, and what he continues to do in his ongoing effort to undermine our democracy. It's not surprising to find out that the twice impeached ex-squatter had a lot of help, not just from the shady characters like Rudy Colludi and the Proud Boys. Nearly all elected Republicans swung into action in the days after the Klan insurrection in order to prevent Trump from facing any legal accountability for inciting the Klan riot. First, by voting against his impeachment, and then by trying to obstruct the formation of the January 6th committee. Now, the committee has already produced evidence of the more traditional kind of conspiracy, and likely will produce more. Now, this involves a lot of secret plotting by Trump and his sycophants to illegally overturn Joe Biden's rightful presidential win. But perhaps even more chilling is the much more widespread effort of the GOP to shield Trump from his consequences and pave the way for him to steal the 2024 election. Now, it turns out that most Republicans didn't even need to be explicitly recruited to the Klan insurrectionist plot. Not only are they fine with criminal and fascist conspiracies, they instinctively swing into action to do whatever they can to help without even being fucking asked to. Now yet, somehow Republicans still benefit from a media environment that paints them as the law and order party, which they're not. But in response to a couple of election results in California this week, we've seen the mainstream media running like terrified sheep towards the right-wing narrative that pits Republicans, supposedly the fake law and order party, against Democrats, who supposedly want to defund the police and allow violent criminals to walk free, which the Democrats do not do. Now, every bit of this is a fucking lie, of course, but for one thing, Democratic-run cities actually tend to spend more on policing than the Republican-run cities. Now, for another, murder rates are higher in the Republican states than it is in the Democratic states. And oh yeah, in response to mass shootings, it's Democrats who push to make it harder for killers to arm themselves, while Republicans fight to make sure that gun sales remain completely unrestricted. Now, this narrative gets even dumber in the shadow of January 6th, when thousands of Republicans are at the behest of the party's figurehead stormed the seat of our federal government and a violent assault aimed at overturning an election. Now, Thursday night, the nation will be exposed to another round of photos and videos of the Republican mob beating up the cops, storming the halls of Congress, and demanding the blood of elected representatives who wouldn't submit to the election-stealing scheme. Now, if these folks were generally outliers in an otherwise non-traditional conservative party, that would be a whole different fucking thing. But nearly all Republican leaders and the entire right-wing media apparatus have collaborated to try to prevent an account of what happened. Now, much less any effort to stop it from happening again. They are not even ashamed of their efforts to aid and abet this ongoing conspiracy against democracy. They bragged to reporters about how they intended to run the counter-programming to the committee hearings in an attempt to muddy the water. Now, most Republican voters are fully on board viewing the January 6th Klan riots not as insurrectionists but as fake riots. From the very top of the GOP leadership to the everyday Republican Joe, these people are not about law and order. Instead, they believe almost any level of crime is justified to get what they fucking want. This attitude isn't just limited to the Klan insurrection, of course, but Trump is a loud and proud sexual predator and a shameless fucking fraud. His crime is good when I do it attitude only makes his followers love him even more. The criminality and corruption is chronic to the GOP. Now, just this week, we had reports that Representative Lauren Boebert is under investigation for fraud. And now more evidence of Trump's corruption and graft in the White House and multiple reports about Michigan Republicans attempting to hack voting machines. Indeed, one of the biggest obstacles is holding Republicans accountable for criminal and corrupt activity, and that their awful behavior is so relentless that it starts to feel inevitable, like the fucking weather. That's how Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner is getting away with taking what looks very much like a $2 billion bribe from Saudi Arabia to help cover up a murder. The response to that outrage has largely been, "What do you fucking expect?" shrug. Asking Republicans to avoid corrupt conspiracies feels like asking them not to fucking breathe. Now, on Tuesday, a biomedical researcher and self-identified former Republican is now a consistent Democratic voter named Ethan Gray, and he posted a perceptive Twitter thread that went viral. He argued that Republicans aren't hypocrites on the issue of freedom, but when Republicans talk about valuing freedom, they're speaking of it in the sense that only people like them should ultimately possess it. All other people of color, women, and the gay community are viewed as subjects who exist to be controlled by the privileged class. That's how, as he pointed out, the same people who claim the freedom to reject basic pandemic mitigation measures also think it's acceptable to force childbirth on others. The organizing belief of republicanism, as Gray explained, is what they can tell people what to do, but they can't be told what to do. It's a variation of a 2018 comment that was made by Frank Wilhoit at the blog Crooked Timber, which also went viral. Conservatism consists exactly of only one proposition, and that is there must be in-groups whom the law protects but does not bind, alongside out-groups whom the land binds but does not protect. This attitude is most clearly visible when it comes to crime and corruption. For Republicans, crime is only something that other people do. When they do it, it's totally fucking legal, but it's not. The Republicans become completely unhinged at a relatively small amount of vandalism committed by Black Lives Matter protesters, but an overt and violent attempt to overthrow democracy. To them, it's a valid and even honorable action, which it's not. A few accidental and irrelevant violations of email protocols by Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State was a five-alarm scandal. But for Republicans, executive privilege became a blank check, allowing Trump to commit any crime that he desired. None of this is really new. Like Trump, Richard Nixon was elected on a law and order message and the chaotic political violence of 1968. 6 years later, he was forced to resign in disgrace after the criminal operation he was running out of the White House was exposed during the Watergate hearings. And yet the media, then and now, for all the years in between, has continued to let Republicans brand themselves as a straight-laced anti-crime party. This presumption that crime is only crime when other people do it, mostly meaning people of color, but also Democrats, led directly to Trump's election. The January 6th committee hearings offer the media a great chance to right the ship and start portraying Republicans as the criminal gang that they actually are. And failing to get this right, however, could allow that criminal gang to recapture the White House in 2024 if we don't take action. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.